This is Me, I Am Mental, the podcast. A quick disclaimer. The content you find here is neither intended to be therapy or diagnosis. It is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only.
As a practicing clinical psychologist, Rhodah Kithure has been our guest on previous episodes of this podcast to discuss the landscape of mental health in Kenya and the challenges of gambling when it comes to mental health. But Rhoda is also a rugby player, and as a sports person, she observed that sports people thrive on and off the pitch based not just on their talents and physical fitness, but crucially on the prevailing states of their minds. Seeing an opportunity to contribute her much-needed skills to bettering sports, Rhoda trained as a sports coach and is now a pioneering mental skills coach, focusing on performance enhancement and mental well-being of players. In part one of this conversation, she shares her journey as a rugby player, the perception some people have about female rugby players, and the challenges faced by women's rugby in general. She also takes us through the mental health landscape of the sports world, highlighting some misconceptions people have about the mental health of sports people and delving into the great opportunities found in sports for personal and professional development. Now, welcome to part two. So, this would be a good time to then move on to another very, very interesting aspect. This is the role of the media when it comes to sports, mental health, how the media conducts itself, and whether that conduces to enhancing the mental health of the sports people and just generally everybody involved in sports, including, I think, sometimes the sports fans, because the media can create situations where sports fans are very wound up, yes, or have So yes, what do you think? How should media manage itself so that the outcome of media's actions and reporting is one where stakeholders generally feel like their interests are balanced out and properly taken care of?
I think one of the key things is, as I said, awareness. The same way we are creating awareness among athletes and showing them how even this kind of external, because it's a distraction, it's an external distraction. And let me give an example where you find after a game has ended and the media, they want the story, and that's part of the game. That we can dispute that. It's part of the game. That story is needed, even for the player to be known, the exposure of the game. That's part and parcel of the game. But how do you go about asking these questions? The players just come off the field. It has been a very tough game. And then after the game, the kind of questions which are asked, and you're looking at even the age of the players. Yes, we have the players who have had the experience. When they're 20, 25, 26, you have that exposure. So they have more experience operating and they understand what is expected. But then we have these young, growing, and who are developing players. There's some questions you ask them and which affect them psychologically. And they're still learning. So in terms of how they need need to be sensitive in terms of how they're asking the questions, the age they are working with these players. So I believe awareness is needed even among our media people, understanding the effect of even some of how they ask the question, the kind of content. Because as you said, the content they post online creates a conversation. And this kind of conversation, you can't tell the player not to go access social media. That is there. You try. Even sometimes you tell them don't access you can keep your phone away just a day before the game. But it's not really
practical.
Practical solution. They want to communicate. You tell them, unless this player is very much disciplined and they say, I'm not going to check my phone, we are living in a different age where the young people, they want to interact with the content and they'll end up in social media. And some of the content posted affects them. And as much as we'll find, yes, let's say we have a team, they have a psychologist who is helping them manage this, but we have others who don't have those resources. So this exposure, they don't have this awareness. So you find the night of their game, the next day, the content online. And it has the kind of content posted and the reaction of this content. You find during the next game, the game is happening and we are wondering, this player was so well yesterday. What has happened? His performance is bad. So we need to have those kind of awareness. Interaction with the players, even understanding how does this affect them? How can we actually bring out content which not only brings you exposure and even exposes the game and create awareness on how it's affecting them. So I believe there's need of awareness, media training on mental health and how this is affecting the sports. Have that level of understanding, because I can say maybe majority of them, they don't see this side. They see only the other side. They don't see the side of the athletes. So they need to have that. Not just post content for the sake of posting content, but what does this content have and how is it affecting the player?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the funds, sports funds, the role of media? What do you think?
One thing is the fans will be fans because for them there's a reason why they're coming for the game. Even sometimes you find if they have access to watch the game online, some people never leave their seats, they're just there. So for fans, sometimes it's just whatever content they get and they'll get involved. It's usually in rugby, we call it banter. Banter is part and parcel of the game. And after the game, the banter is, if you actually take it to heart, it will affect you because it's brutal. So you find even the media now, they have to be careful even how, be professional enough to know what kind of information you're bringing out and how it will be interpreted. So when you come in and say you're paying attention to a certain athlete because of factors which are not even involved, because you want that sensational story, definitely you know the aftermath of that, how it affect. But the fans, for them, whatever, they want a performance in any way, either in the field or outside the field. They keep the game alive. And during the week, they will talk about it. Sometimes even they'll bring the other player, so brutal. And for me, on my side, I see how it's affecting the player. And you can see how someone is on their phone and you're trying to help them now process all this. So what I do with the players is, you can't block it and tell them, people will talk. But for me, it's build resilience on how to handle this, how to ensure it doesn't affect your game. Don't take it, how not to take it personally. But come what may, it will affect them. So in terms of ethical reporting in some way, that is needed. Professionalism, not just a story to just post on social media to get views and get reactions, because it has gotten to that level.
Yeah, I see. If people generally, including the media, would spend a little more time, I suppose what you're saying is just understanding the mental health dynamics, and therefore be sensitive to those dynamics, and see themselves as also playing a role, not just reporting outcomes of an abstract sports, but also they're human beings involved, and therefore they do have a responsibility towards nurturing those human beings and taking care of their well-being. So the reporting would reflect those aspects, that sensitivity to, this person is young, this person needs a bit of guidance, a bit of protection, maybe even encouragement, and just not making every sport like a bloodbath,
Actually, yeah. I just remembered I was watching a Netflix documentary on captains, and one of the captains from Brazil commented and saying, yes, I am an athlete, but the first thing is I'm a human being. I can make mistakes. I have emotions. So that part makes me a human being. So before you just, as much as you want to just see the athlete with this superhuman person, see me as a human being who has all these abilities like any other human being. So even for the media, it's that ability of looking, as you've said, look at them, treat them as human beings because they're human beings. Yes, he's an athlete, but also because the more we sensationalize this part of these qualities of this athlete, you fail to see the human side. And you don't see how the human side is hurting. And most of the time you'll find the athlete using that as a mask. I don't have to see this. Let me be the person they want me to see.
Yeah.
And that's why you find these athletes struggles in silence, because me coming out and talking, how will that be taken? And that image will, everything I've worked for will be taken away. And just this is what the media will focus on.
And then I wonder about what your views are when the media also steps out of the field and begins to focus very intensively on people's personal lives and try to, find a scandal here, something else there. How does that impact the athletes themselves? And how should athletes manage that?
It really affects them, because now one thing is understanding. As I said earlier, it's the one thing is helping them understand this is how it is. They're looking for a story, and they will find you're in the limelight. That story will be taken there. So on my part is helping, equipping the athlete with skills enough to understand how to navigate and how to manage even that. So you find the athletes who keep their family away from the limelight. But you exposing, bringing your family in the limelight, be ready for that. Accept it's going to affect. They're going to come looking for story. They're going to see you because you're in that spot. Everything, they will see it. The world will see it. The world will judge you based on what they see. They don't see you, the person. So you have to learn how to manage and copy that. And if it's affecting, that's why you'll find even even on the case of Naomi Osaka, you find she even took a step away from social media. She took a step away to get herself better. Many of them do that. You take a sabbatical leave from social media, from the world, to get better. But do we have to get there? Let's work on equipping them with skills and how to manage. They need to be aware enough of this is affecting me. Can I go seek help and learn how to manage? And by seeking help, that doesn't mean I'm weak. It means I'm strong enough to admit I'm struggling somewhere, so I can get help and become better and grow. So change the dynamics, the language. And that's why when you're saying, even for the media, how that training to understand. And from there now they can know how effectively to support these athletes, not even for performance, but for welfare. So for athletes, this is affecting me. How? So for now, the only thing is work with athletes to help them manage and cope, because there's in everything, as much as it's good for the exposure, for their career growth, it's also the ugly side of you're in the spotlight. People will judge you. People will put you in a box of where they want to define you. So be ready.
Now, stepping away from the media, I just go back. I just remembered something about fans. There are instances where, like at the stadium, you find fans, either your team's fans or the other side booing you, calling you names. Sometimes there's even risk of real physical violence or harm directed at you for your performance or whatever else some people might not be happy about. So sports to that extent can become like a really high stakes and dangerous game for athletes. I remember this World Cup when a guy called Escobar, I think from Colombia, when they lost, he went back home and he got shot dead by the fans. So I think also it might be good for people generally who are engaging in sports as fans, or to not take it to extremes, to moderate I don't know whether that's even a possibility, because it can get dangerous for people.
Yes, it can. I've seen it even in the field here. That is an extreme case of where you're finding they have taken personally how you've costed us this game. They take it personally. Their involvement in the game is so passionate and so like it's part and parcel of their life. So yes, we have fans like that. I've seen fights in the field where because let's say the other team is not performing well and they come after that player. They don't care what has happened. For them is you're costing us the title. You're costing us this win. And this win means a lot to us. So yes, fans can be violent. Fans, you can see the booing will happen. You can see them even attacking you personally, telling you how usually they say umeisha. Like they attack you to everything they have because they want to get to you. So what to do on the side is we can't control the fans. We don't know why they're there. We don't know what's leading them to react like that. We have no idea. I have no control of them. So the one thing is help the player be prepared enough. So as part of the psychological skills training, one of the techniques is taking them through such scenarios and preparing them. In case this happens, how should you respond? Are you equipped? So be ready for anything. So that's part of the mental toughness level. You have to go through that so that when that scenario happens, you're ready to respond so it doesn't affect you. No, if there's violence within the pitch, how can you handle that? You find, yes, it will be controlled. The good thing right now, based on such events, we have security. In every game you have, security is very good. And it's one thing I will affirm even the unions and these sports fraternities, the management, they bring good security. So you find the player is protected first. You'll find even like an example of the last tournament, you find the player zone, they never allowed anybody from outside to come there. They have labeled this country sitting here. So the fans are on the other side. The players are well protected. So protection of the player is key. But now there's that going after you've left the game, what next? But now for the players, you train them. They have to be prepared for anything, mentally prepared. How will you respond? How can you get back from that setback and get back to performing where it doesn't? And then when you feel it's affecting you mentally, how can you seek support to process that? Because you're human. Your security, your safety has been threatened. So how can you handle that? So these are some of the things there are not many people pay attention to, but they're so critical. So all of a sudden you find like maybe an injury has happened. An example, an injury has happened. This team was performing so well. And then this happened. You find all of a sudden their performance has gone down. And then the fans outside, they are shouting at you. They are screaming and they are calling you names. And they don't understand, were you prepared mentally to handle such? What role does this player play in the team? And does it affect the dynamics, the team spirit, the cohesion? So these factors, all of them, they contribute to...
It's a real high-pressure environment.
It's a high-pressure environment. And you have to learn how to manage that. So the minute you learn how to manage, you can handle. But if you're not aware of what you're expecting there, if you haven't trained yourself, you haven't gone through that process of learning how to manage, it takes a toll on you. You find you've trained, you're fit. As I said, all the skills you know, but the minute you get in the field, it's all forgotten. You're just running, you're just doing things, and people are wondering, what are you doing in the field? But no one understands. Your brain has gone to survival mode. And even sometimes freeze, because we have seen threat, and I don't know how to handle, because pressure is a threat to the brain if not managed and not aware of it.
Yeah, I've had one or two instances where maybe I'm set to speak to a group of people and maybe I've done a bit of prepping. I feel fairly confident in terms of the content, and I show up and I start to speak, and for some reason something happens in my system, and maybe I deliver. I feel like at the end of it I've delivered, but I always get this almost out of body experience. Just the mere fact that you are now in this place and there are all these people, and you don't know how they'll respond to you, whether they'll take you positively or not. And so your mind goes,
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, and all the prepping doesn't seem to serve you too well. And then at the end of it, sometimes you're not even able to assess for yourself how you performed. Was I good? Was I bad? And maybe that's just a 15-minute exposure to a bunch of people. I can imagine if you're out in the field for 90 minutes, 90 odd minutes, and you have these howling fanatics, calling you names or like this incredible expectations.
Thank you.
It's a really high pressure environment.
It is like I remember, like, let's say when we're having tournaments within, like, now these are just national tournaments here, and you find you have people who know you personally. Let's say even the team you're playing against, you've played with them before, and they know you, and they know the pressure points, and they start saying, huyo mongelesha hivi, huyo ayuko, and they start talking such language. And in my head, now during tournaments, I observe and see the reaction, the facial expression. How is this player handling this pressure? So these are some of the things I observe during the games, the matches. So I'm observing if this is happening, how is the player responding? Is able to focus on the game. And then afterwards, as performance been affected. So you find players they'll get in your head. That's why they say, that game was all mental. Get in his mental, mess him up, because they want to have an edge over you. So if they know you can't manage pressure, they will come at you because it's a competitive sport. They will use anything. If physically you're good, they'll find a weakness. And if they'll find that, they will use it. Bring you down and get a breakthrough. It's competition. It's high pressure. So if you can't survive, that's how it shows. So what you do is, as there's a question you asked earlier about, we have players who have different personalities, others who are sensitive, the others they can manage. Yes, you have all these factors and these players, and all of them, they can function. So, but how do you do that? You can't allow this we have others who, after such a game, they have decided, I've hung my boots. I'm done playing. Like, this is so cruel. This world is so cruel. And like, you find you've let, and you feel like, I've let my teammates down. I've let my coach down. I've let myself down. I would rather just leave it and let me go focus on other things. So you find you're losing talent based on not looking at these soft skills, which need how to manage. But if you can help them manage, we can help, let's say, this player is so sensitive, it's okay. But how can I now strengthen that part? Bring this you see as weakness and show you it's a strength, and how you can use it to harness the best of yourself. So that's where now, because now you find the coach has all these roles he has to play. So there's a gap. He doesn't have that time. There's performance. There's a skill acquisition he has to do. So what time does he have to bring this in the limited time they have? So those are the dynamics.
Which brings me to the next question. So team sports, or just generally sports, when you, at the very beginning, what makes you stand a chance of being a successful athlete? And I'm speaking from just your mindset and your attitude and your personality vis-a-vis the things that will make you very vulnerable and possibly even get damaged by participating in that sport.
Let me start with mindset. That's a very passionate topic of mine. We have the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. So in a sport, you may come in maybe the team you're with, and you're joining this team used to be the best. And then you come here, it's different level of training. Everybody's the best in this sport at that level. And then you come in and you don't know how to handle challenges. For you, you're the best. And if you can't manage here, you take it personally. You're like, I'm just not good enough. And you leave it. So having a growth mindset where every obstacle you face, it's a time for you to learn. Where you finding you've come for trials and you don't make it, you don't just give up. You got to keep pushing. That mind of a champion of keep pushing. Every failure you face, it's a learning growth for me. That's the growth mindset. The fixed mindset is where I failed in this, I'm not good enough, or the coach doesn't like me, or there is a criteria which was used to select the players, which I think they are, those kind of excuses. You come up with excuses. You don't look inside and ask myself, why didn't I make it? What can I do to actually get better? These are the people you find, even the coaches identify them. And you find you because you have that initiative. So having a growth mindset gives you the initiative to push yourself beyond the limits. You don't allow obstacles to put you down. You look at all the resources, use all the resources you have at your disposal. If you say, and now with growth mindset, come with discipline the next one, because it's part and parcel. For you, if I need to increase my speed, I can't just rely on the training session. I have to put in time for myself. All that comes with that self-initiative. If you don't have that, your let's say, your time in sport, it's limited. Because for you, always be finding excuses. When things don't work well, you start saying, hey, didn't not pass the ball to me. My captain doesn't like me. My team hates me. You have excuses. You don't look down. So that comes with, you have this constant fear of failure because you don't want to work on yourself. And you don't want to put the effort. So for anybody, it comes to having a growth mindset, which now gives this of these athletes where you find the the outstanding champions. There's athletes who step up, who people see. But the underlying thing is these athletes don't allow failure to define who they are. Failure for them is a chance of growth. That comes in discipline. That brings in resilience. Resilience is very key. And we have others who don't have that, but you are willing to learn. Coachability, ability to learn, allow yourself to learn. Don't always take in criticism or even correction as personal. No, you take in, look at it, and even have that time of sitting down with a coach. Confidence, self-confidence is key. And even confidence is not something, for others, it's something which has been supported and grown in by parents. But you find the others, they're struggling with ability to admit, I'm struggling here. And I want to work on myself. So all that. So as I said, fixed mindset, if that is not changed, it's not a recipe for even those athletes who grow. They're the ones who you find the sport, now we say it breaks them, because you start blaming everyone else. You start thinking, I'm just not good enough. I'm a failure. Maybe this is not my sport. Let me just hang my boots and go find another sport. So that's the fixed mindset part. But for the growth mindset, and where you find even you've been winning and then all of a sudden a loss has come in. You don't look, what was my contribution? What can I do? This is a player who will be like, I'm just not good enough. This sport, I'm done. Go. So a growth mindset is key.
In which case, I think what I hear you used to say also is this: you can come to the sports or join the sports when you don't have all these things in place. Sometimes you can even come, initially you have issues with self-esteem, too sure about your self-worth. But what you have is a certain mindset that says, yes, I do recognize I have this as a challenge, but I'm going to work on it. That way, despite the things that would have made you struggle, because you're constantly working on refining them, and you use all. I think that what I really liked from what you said is, you make sure you understand that I have all these things, this support system, and then you engage with it. So if you feel like, here is where I'm lacking, and then you look around and say, who can provide this support here? Who can turn around and say, I have this? Then you try and engage with that and get better. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there are certain type of people who have everything figured out from the beginning, who will then make for outstanding athlete. It just means that you can come from being anybody in any situation, provided you have a certain mindset. That is, it's the mindset that's going to make you a success.
Yes, the mindset it's the overall of it all. Because you've had athletes who come in, body type, they are trying, even they don't fit in that position. You find, okay, I have this challenge. What can I change? What can I not change? They work on themselves. We have others who have come, like, let's say even the national trials. They come the first time, they don't make it. We have had such players where from the time I started engaging with now the under 20 Kenya team, you find this athlete came in when he was 17 or 17 years. Even in terms of body and how he was carrying himself, he didn't make it, but he was just there reserve. This young man goes back and starts training, realizes what I need to do is engage in training, physical training, engages with a coach, have more gameplay, and just learn. And by the time he's coming that time, when he's around 19, going on to 20, you find he has grown. The personality even is embracing, is more confident. Before, people used to think he's an introvert, but he's not. He's someone who can speak among others confidently. And because it's the growth, he didn't have it. So yes, there's people say, yeah, because we glorify talent, we want, even the society wants to say, yeah, he's talented enough. But no, talent is not what gets you to become that outstanding player. No, bringing the mindset has to be different. How do you treat the leaders? How do you treat your teammates? Respect is key. Because if you don't respect yourself, even your teammates, you'll not respect the coaches or even the people around you. How do you handle success? So all these things are involved in part and parcel of the mindset of the athlete. That's what separates both.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. In your experience, and also in the studies you've conducted, what are the general mental health challenges that you have encountered amongst athletes? And if you could also maybe just discuss a bit around where those challenges generally come from and some of ways of managing those challenges as well.
Okay, so we start with the common mental illnesses.
Yeah.
The one, we have anxiety. It's actually one of the most common mental illnesses among athletes. Anxiety. We have depression. We have substance use disorder. That is both for substances and alcohol use disorder, because most of the things which are used for coping when they don't understand what's going on. And also the culture itself, it's normalized that. So you find it so easy to mask yourself in it, because a celebration or that, until now it affects their performance. So we have another one is also gambling. Yes, gambling disorder among athletes themselves, because it's something which was noted during the COVID-19. Athletes were away from, it's a research, but not done in Kenya. So they noticed they are away from competition, but they have this competitive, part of the personality is that competitive nature and that control, even that illusion of I understand the game. So you find majority, they are away from the sport. So during this period when they're not engaging, there was the online gaming, all that. Majority went there because they need to be there. Like they need to engage and they feel, yes, the competitive nature of gambling provides that ability and that illusion of knowing I've played the sport, so I know. Naelewa kabisa. Yes. So it's something which was noted during that period. So you find the aspect of not knowing the outcome. That's the attractive part of the sport. I don't know the outcome. I'm coming in the game, the sport. We are all prepared. You're all measured on the same level as teams, skills-wise, and we don't know the outcome. So it's the same simulated in gambling. So they found during that period, majority of athletes were involved in it, in gambling. So that's another common one among athletes. And then you find, especially now, athletes during off-season, there's not much going. It's a point of relaxation. It comes in on that because the mind.
They need a high.
They need a high. It's there. That competitive nature of it, it's the same you find there. When an athlete is injured, when you assess, you find that is there, that they're engaging in that. So those are the most common ones. And then we have others just like bipolar. We have had athletes who are coming out and talking about the struggle with bipolar disorder. So, but the most common are the ones I mentioned earlier. So, and the causes, there are many. The major one, which I noticed, is we have kids who are coming from families where we have the parents are divorced. We have kids coming from parents where they're not present in their lives. We have kids who have even come from even resettlement areas. So you find majority have gone through adverse childhood experiences. And when they engage in sport and sport become a way of them coping, this is so how it happens. When they start, it's fun. It's a way when you come home and with all this chaos happening at home, you get to the field, it's a happy place for you. And you're coping and you're enjoying. But now as you grow and the sport become competitive and the pressure grows more, you find the place used to be your place of comfort and you're coping. It's no longer that safe. The pressure is also high. And now you no longer have somewhere to cope. I'm getting away from this to cope with this. But now this place is no longer my safe place. It's also bringing pressure. The demands are high. And I've never dealt with these underlying adverse childhood issues I've gone through. I've never dealt with them. That's when they come up.
So the two combine.
The two combine. And now that's one of the causes. So many of them are not aware. You find it manifests itself in discipline. You find that player who has been so disciplined, all of a sudden, the discipline has gone down. You find they used to perform very well. All of a sudden, they just got into a plateau. Something is happening. What has changed? So that's one of the contributing factors. Other part is majority join sport, as I said, as a coping. It's an escape. The world outside, it's so chaotic. But when I'm here playing, I'm happy because it's exercise. But now when you're exercising, it gets to a level of the competition. Competition comes in, the pressure is high. Whatever I was running from hasn't gone away. It's there. I've been coping very well, but I haven't dealt with this. So you find that's another cause. And then we have the genetic part of it. You have that predisposition in terms of there's depression in the family, anxiety. If there's someone struggling with substance use disorder or alcohol use disorder, and then you get exposed to it, you find, and this pressure comes in, it now makes you more vulnerable. Predisposed to all these issues. So there's so many factors which are causing, but now these are the ones. So the pressure here, it's inevitable. The pressure, it's part and parcel of the game. So if you don't know how to handle it, it can get to you and affects your well-being. You find now even the mental fatigue, that's another cause. You find the season is ongoing. A season, let's say in rugby, you have this season where there's the 15 season, because this 15 is where you have 15 players in the field and it goes for 80 minutes. The seven circuit, it's 7 minutes per each half time, and then you have 7 players in the game. So the seventh, this season now you say you're transitioning from 15. So these are like a couple of 3-4 months intensive training, weekend after weekend. You have a tournament, you have a match, and you've been training the whole week. So this routine without no break. And then you have your life outside, let's say you're in school or you're working. And you have all that combined. This fatigue also, it's a contributing factor. And then no break. After this, you're involved in something else. You don't take time for you. There is no self-care. Many of them don't know something like that, self-care. So the pressure is a constant pressure. You are living under constant pressure. That's another contributing factor, which is no one pays attention. And most athletes, they feel, why am I taking a break? And during that break, you're doing something else.
So it's not a break, strictly speaking.
No.
You're just not in the sport.
Yeah, you're told take a break. They don't utilize the breaks so well. To be honest, they're given these periods of relaxing. Like currently we are going through a 7 circuit. They have been given 3 weeks of rest. Yes, you're training, but you're taking a break from the tournament for a while. You'll find majority are not taking a break. And then you come back again, and then
side hustle.
Yes, side hustle, and then majority, because you feel we are not performing well. The intensity of the training goes high, without looking at the circumstances underlying this poor performance. So you find now mental fatigue and physical fatigue is also a contributing factor. to others.
Okay. So, I like you mentioned about self-care, which is a thing I also wanted us to address. So I suppose as part of the process of managing their mental well-being is to become more aware about self-care.
Yes.
Many of us, I was cracking a joke recently about self-care. When people hear the word self-care, they think spa.
That is very true. That is very true.
So I think spa and self-care have become conflated, but we need to rescue the word self-care from spa by just trying to tell people what exactly is self-care, and more so with respect to sports.
As you've said with self-care, people think money, think away from everything. And I'm like, no. Self-care starts with even the routine you're having daily, being intentional in how you're living. Let's say you're spending so much time training, having more time in sleeping. Sleep more. Like, don't sleep for 5 hours and then in the morning you're back to training again. Utilize your sleep well. Eating well. That's self-care. What other thing is, there is one thing I tried, actually introduced it this year in the teams I was working with, mindfulness, that aspect of relaxation. You're in pain, you want to relax because you can't be that active every time. You're sleeping, but your mind is still very active. You don't know how to sit still and relax. So relaxation techniques, breathing techniques, very critical. Even sometimes I'll talk about it and they'll look at me like, seriously, breathing?
I know.
Why?
Yeah.
We know how to breathe.
See, I'm breathing.
And then you bring it up again. They're like, nah, breathing now. So, but now with time, this is the funny part. I'm seeing they're doing it inside. Like after it's during the break, they're breathing. They're actually breathing to relax. The breathing techniques to help. So these are some of the things you internalize. The one advantage with athletes is you're already exercising, which is a plus. That is the one beautiful thing. Yes, routine, exercise is part of your routine. So now bring these others. Now the lifestyle change, part of self-care. When you're feeling you're not well, you be assertive enough to actually go talk about it. Bring that to awareness. Don't repress all these emotions. If you're feeling this pressure is getting to you, seek help. Therapy is part of self-care. So you don't have to take a break and you go to a spa, and you travel wapi, go to Mombasa, sherehe wapi. No. Self-care, family, spending time with family. I remember one of the key things even I told the team after we finished the tournament. I told them as you're taking a break, let's say even the intensity of the exercise should be less. Yeah, you still exercise, but the intensity is less. Spend time with friends, people who care about you. That support system is so key as part of self-care. And then if you don't have that support system, now we have a problem. Let's sit down, identify who are key people in your life, when they're around, you're feeling safe and you can be yourself. Identify that. So support system, friends, family, identify that. That's part of self-care for them. So, because I've said already, exercise is catered for. So let's look at other. We call them even for self-care, it's part of protective factors. So that gives you energy and support to overcome what will come your way. So self-care is so key, but that's the challenge. For them, they don't see it that way.
I suppose self-care, for people to even pay attention to self-care, they also just need to understand themselves. They need to understand how their bodies function, how their minds work. They need to see the connection between thoughts, feelings, their physiology, and their, all those things. And what I find almost always is that many of us assume we know ourselves, but we don't. We haven't paid enough attention to ourselves, and we generally use the rules or the framework that was handed down to us by society, including some of those that make us not even pay attention to ourselves, because sometimes there are certain cultural or social, how do I call them, ways of being which disconnect you from yourself. Stop feeling like that. Be a man. Those things.
Thank you.
So in the process, you completely disassociate. You're not. You don't know who you are, but there you are putting yourself out there. And when something goes wrong, you're unable to figure what's. I'm doing everything here, but you're not in touch with yourself. You don't know who you are. So self-care only becomes possible when you do pay a bit of attention to who you and you also engage with yourself and become truthful about who you are, and also understand your limitations, what your strengths, your weaknesses, all those things. Then when it becomes now taking care of yourself within that context, it becomes something that you can do effectively.
That is perfect. Straight to the point. Actually, you've explained it so well. And now when you come to the athlete, I mean, even the nature and even how they think, that part of, you find they have the ability of being very self-critical, analytical about themselves. Mm-hmm. So how they look, they can be very harsh towards themselves. So for self-awareness and being very compassionate about themselves, compassion is part and parcel of an athlete to function well. So when they, after, let's say, performed well, even an injury or something is going on, you find they turn it towards themselves and look at why is this body failing me? Why is my mind failing me? And no, I've given it that kind of self-talk. It's very harsh and even provide a corrosive environment inside themselves. They have that ability. So bringing compassion as part of self-care, as they're becoming self-aware, it's part and parcel of the program of an athlete understanding how I can take care of myself to become better. Taking a break from anything. Just because this has happened doesn't mean my body has failed me. Doesn't mean I'm not good enough. It just means something is not right. Let me take care of myself to become better. So that is one of the challenges. Self-aware, many of them, as I've said, not many people know themselves. But what people think they know is what the society has fed us about ourselves, and we use it as lenses to look deep inside us, who we are. And we use this to inform, this is the person I am. So if they can bring that awareness in them, know how to identify what are my strengths, and even though I have these weaknesses, they don't define me. How can I use them to strengthen myself? Know the opportunities I have. So this is the process. But in the whole process, you provide a compassionate environment, not a critical end. Because with this, and now the high level of perfectionism within the sport itself prevent that. Where sometimes you'll find an athlete saying, I'm not a robot, I'm human. But deep down inside, that's how they're operating. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I see how that perfectionism can even lead people to substance abuse, or even the banned drugs, the substance, those things, because it's like you literally want to become superhuman, and at the point at which all your training and effort come to their limits, where you can no longer produce like make additional gains through these processes. You say, I will go outside of myself, I will buy some pill and pop into my mouth and deliver this result.
Yes, because that is expected of me.
Because that is now expected.
Yeah, so majority you hear, even now it comes to performance enhancing drugs, doping.
Yes,
it's like in Kenya,
it's become a thing.
It's become a thing. So what is causing all this to happen? So we go back to self-care. You're putting yourself under intense stress training, but you don't take time to take a pause. This body, this superhuman body, you're looking at it has its limits. It can give you the potential you want to, but also go by it don't just push. Yes, you're pushing beyond the limits, but also understand how your body makeup is, the physiological side of it. Psychologically, where am I? For me to demand all this from my body, where am I psychologically? How is my state of mind? So those are the key things you find. And that's why you're finding it's very common among individual sports. But now come to the team sport. What is happening? Why? It's because even for all the athletes are taken through, but after every game, they're taken through testing. And we have had very minimal cases on that. But why are we finding so many cases among our individual athletes. That's an area of concern. And the minute we answer that, but you'll find it boils back to the state of mind of these athletes, how they're managing themselves. Why do they feel the need of going to this extra mile of using performance-enhancing drugs? And they know if found, it's going to affect their career, but they still go on and do it.
Because it's a bit desperate, isn't it?
Yes. But there's something, what is this pushing them? I know if I'm caught, if I'm tested, I'll be banned and it will cost me my career. But you still find a way to bypass the system and use them. And it will cost you and affect you even more. But they still go on and do it. Why? Yeah.
That's interesting. Oh, okay. So let's move to another interesting one. Sasa sisi my youth. See, I'm still youth. I will be youth.
It's relative. Youth is relative.
Yeah. So all these programs for youth, mostly I will be there as chairman, so that I am able to sign the checkbook. I was here. Anyway, youth and sports.
Yeah.
Youth, sports, and education. I think that, let me preface this discussion with just a thought. Many parents are still very reluctant to encourage their children to focus on sport. Many parents default on, things like the usual academics as career, as paths to career success. And even when it comes to sports, very little attention is paid during the formative years as you're growing up, and in terms of you're just developing an interest in and also participating in sports, and even considering the possibility of a career in sports. And then at the point at which then somebody wants to pursue sports seriously, they might not find that they have a lot of support from their parents and even their peers in terms of making that choice. And when they make that choice, they find the spaces which are maybe underfunded, under-supported, So youth struggle so much, firstly, embracing the idea of sports as something meaningful. Then when they are participating in sports, it's still quite a challenge.
Yes.
But I think it would be good to completely mainstream sports into the curriculum. Have parents and society be very encouraging of sports. I actually think that through sports, we've already highlighted some of the many advantages that participating in sports can, give a child.
Yeah.
And even if they do end up pursuing sports as professionally or not, they will already have benefited from some of just having participated in these things.
Yeah.
But so that is what I think. But I would love for us to now just discuss the area of, the youth and sports education. What are your thoughts around that?
As you've said, I will echo those words. It's something which needs to be part and parcel of curriculum, because with engaging in sports, there is that commitment of the discipline comes in, committing in something and overcoming the challenges, and the mind engagement of the sport, even the sport you're engaging in. So this discipline is the same one you carry in class. So you find sometimes, the other day I was talking to some young people, these kids are around 14, 13. They spend, because they're in class 8, you find you're spending the whole day seated in class. What they're not doing is understanding, like these young people, the concentration span is so limited. And you'll keep them there thinking they're absorbing what you're giving them, and they're concentrating, their minds have gone away. But if you engage that engagement with sports, because the more the mind is active, the more even the retention of the information they're getting. You even now help the brain even retain. Some of them, if they even enjoy the process of learning, because learning is supposed to be enjoyable, even though you're acquiring some new information. So when you keep them in class, you're waking them up. They're supposed to be at school from 6 or even 5. some schools, the time you're waking up.
Yes.
And then you're keeping them in class. And there you're creating an environment of high pressure environment. And this is a brain which is growing at that time. And then how do you expect them to absorb all this information? But now bring the sport in. It keeps them active, allows even the brain to accommodate and know how to handle pressure. And exercise, it's actually very beneficial to the brain. So you're keeping them in class till 5, allowing them to go home. Even for those things in the school, you go, eat, sleep. Go, eat, sleep. How do you expect that performance to improve? So they need to actually provide more information on how sport is relevant. The culture of the sport, even the parents are supportive, you have the coaches, you have the teachers. That's why you find schools which have such programs. From primary school, we have, these days the system has changed. We have, is it junior secondary school?
It's from 6, I think, grade 6, you go to junior secondary, yes.
And then now they're,
junior.
Yes. So you find schools which have these systems in place. They're excelling both in academics and even sports. And you find right now even scholarships for sports are so many. You find kids are getting access to universities like Strathmore. You have even KU, Kenyatta University, who have this sports scholarship. So you find even that burden of fees, it's limited even for the parent because of that involvement. So as I said, the skills you're learning in sport, you bring them in the class. They're beneficial for the athletes and for the student. And then we have even now investment in one of the things I've seen in countries which actually defeated us and do continuously. Now, every sport you engage in, they are defeating us in all platforms. They have invested in development. Because at this point, you're developing this talent. And not when you're developing the talent, not just it's holistic, psychologically, academic-wise, spiritually, you're looking at socially, you're building this player to grow, and this is someone you can take them to the world outside and they can manage. So teams which are defeating us and countries who are developing, they have invested in development. So we have system in place where the parents are part and parcel of the program, the coaches, the community, because you're building the community as a whole. Those are the countries and teams which are prospering, who are doing well. But now, if you don't invest in our development, we're expecting to develop them when they're in their 20s and 25. That's not going to last long. So there needs to be investment in that aspect when this player is developing 12 years, even in school, come to 15. So for me, I believe in development programs, grassroots programs.
Would that take the form of grassroots programs within established institutions? Like, say, if it's a school, then just within the school itself, they have a program that for sports, a very active, or there is also the phenomena of sports academies, which is becoming quite the thing lately. So talented youth are identified, and then they are taken out and put into an institution which has its main focus as sports, without necessarily ignoring these other aspects like academic, but they're really, really also focused on nurturing that sports talent. So I don't know, do you have a preference in terms of which of those systems, or they can also, I suppose, in some ways just work together?
They can work together because now there's limited resources. That's the one challenge we have. Resources are limited because let's say you have an athlete in the rural areas where even identifying that talent is a challenge. So we start with a school program, and then you have a unified, let's say, curriculum in how, and it's spread out to all areas. So we have the school programs. If there's a possibility of an academy, that can work. But the problem is academies, some of them are quite expensive, and parents are not able to access unless maybe there's a scholarship program, or it's a program maybe supported by the government or the unions, or even families coming together. But now we have athletes who have the potential and so talented, but they don't have resources. So the school programs work, but it's a matter of these parents coming, educating the parents on the importance. Because I know even right now, as you said earlier, parents are not very much supportive. They see sport as a waste of time, of you should be focused on academics. So show them the importance of the sport. I remember my dad, when even for him, yes, he loved sports. But even the culture itself was, when you're involved in sports so much, we forget the academics. But when I joined university, and now I had the freedom to join sports, and I was very much, you'll find me, I'm outdoors, I'm going for hikes inside the school, I'm involved in different activities, and my performance was good. He actually started supporting me. He's like, what are you doing next semester? What do you want to engage in? You just need to show. We show the parents the importance of kids and how it's beneficial for their development, being involved in sports, helping them in balancing. So the academies can work. But now if we don't have resources, they can work together with schools coming in, and schools which lack resources, the parents coming in and supporting. Becomes, as I said, it's not only building the school and the athlete, also the community. It becomes a community support. And also well-being of the community. You find you're rehabilitating these kids, some of them, not by going outside, but just within. Brings the sense of belonging of, I'm doing something for my community and I'm growing this for the people. So you bring that sense of community, sense of belonging. So it can work in whichever way. I believe it's possible. We work with the resources we have.
Agreed. Yeah. Now, on a light note, I remember this teacher of ours in high school. He was a physics teacher, and he didn't have any tolerance for sports. And there was this time a bunch of guys snuck out of prep to go and watch some World Cup on TV. And so during I think the guys were nabbed, and so he was the one, he was on duty that week. And so during the assembly, the guy says, what is this about? He doesn't understand how 22 grown-up men can be chasing around a leather ball, an inflated leather. What is this nonsense? So I suppose that's one way of looking at football, isn't it?
But wow, okay.
So now we've talked about the youth. Now there's also the other end of that spectrum, which is at the point at which most sports, particularly like team sports, the athletes, there is a window within which they are active, and then they have to retire. Age catches up, and some of your abilities naturally atrophy, and you need to, find your peace with that and find a way of moving on to the next life. I suppose some of the in that transition can be very, very challenging.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, there's issues of you're very identified maybe with the sport. Maybe it is a source of your income. Perhaps you don't have any other significant skills you have developed over time, yet you must retire because, that's just how life is. Yeah, well, how do they manage that? Should athletes prepare for that? How does one manage that transition generally? And at what point do you start thinking about that transition?
That's something which is very true, but it's very critical, that transition. Because as I said, even when an injury ending, like a career-ending injury comes along and you can't control that, you find you've been forced into retirement early and you're not ready for that. So preparation is needed. That's why you find there's emphasis of, even though you're playing, also look at this balance of either academic or skills you're acquiring along the way. Don't just depend on this. The identity part of it, you learn how to separate. And then you find, I've seen many clubs and programs where they're doing that financial counseling, knowing how to help a player invest. So you have that sense of security. So it's something which they need to be prepared, because even the skills you have acquired from this sport, they're not for nothing. these are skills which can be used outside. So how can we bring in even companies or even programs outside, even for employers to realize, by the way, this athlete can be part and parcel of our company, and growth and performance enhancement. Even like, it's something which that transition, you help them identify beyond the sport, what are you interested in career wise when the sport is not there. So these are trainings which need to be part and parcel of the player, of the athlete. So
currently, are there very active trainings of that nature, or generally as things stand, for the most part, do they just focus on this, you performing during the sports? Nobody's paying too much attention to that other stuff, or people are actively thinking about it?
Currently, we have clubs which are actively thinking, where you find even when they bring players on board, they're supporting them in getting scholarships. So the scholarships, you're improving this academic part of you. And when you have other clubs where they are, like, let's say it's being sponsored by a company. This company even absorbs the player in their departments. Mm-hmm. So you have that transition. Mm-hmm. You've trained in this skill. So even when you're playing, you have a chance of even doing internship within the company, working within the company. But let's say they're not very much active. Very few limited athletes have that access to that. So you find, yes, but it's a conversation which is slowly getting attention, because this transition, you're finding players now falling into depression, substance use, all these issues, and they don't know how. And because you no longer have this safety net of the sport, you're away from the sport. Who are you beyond the sport? You find many are getting lost, and they are like, who am I away from this sport I've known? What can I do beyond this? So you find many have those challenges, and the age has caught up with you. You have a family, others maybe they don't. The dynamics are different. So based on that, you find there are clubs which are actively doing that, but they're not so many.
So it's a conversation that needs to be had more intensively.
Yes, it is. And have that exposure. It's a conversation which, for me, I believe it's so critical currently. You need to have that.
One of the ways perhaps would also be to have former athletes who are already in employment to come and mentor these guys and speak to them. Because sometimes if you're, say, in employment or otherwise engaged, but you're not an athlete, and you come to speak, you may not resonate with them.
That's true.
Say they might look at you and think, which world are you coming from?
You don't understand our life.
Yeah, right. But if, say, JJ Masiga?
Mm-hmm.
Do you
know? That?
He used to be some guy, the doctor, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
He's a doctor, yeah. But he was a famous football player.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's a medical doctor or something. If someone like that comes and speaks to you and you are currently a player, you'd say, we can be both. Those sorts of things can be very, I think, encouraging.
Yeah.
So that they're also exposed to other ways of being other than just the sports. I know
of a club also which they have a mentorship program. Mm-hmm. So what they do is, the minute now we have the senior, or they say all players, the senior team, they have moved out of, they're still part and parcel of the team. Yeah. So they take in, they mentor a player. So the new players coming in, the young players, they mentor. And during the mentorship you're guiding them in terms of career-wise, and even their transition as they are finishing their schooling, transition, maybe you have a company or you can do that attachment. So for them, they have that program. Mm-hmm. You find for them, they don't really pay the players, but they have this mentorship program. Mm-hmm. So where you're being given maybe resources, you can eat, you have transport allowance, but now you have this program within as you're playing. You have support for school. So it's very good. You have the old guys coming in and being, so it's the generational support.
Yes.
And you find the culture for that club. I know the culture is very rich in terms of that support. And they keep on, so many players you're asking them, which club do you want to go to? They'll say they want to go there because of this culture they have. So, but now this is one club. So we can say it's one. There's so many clubs in Kenya. I don't know. I'm still learning about the football side, but it's something also I want to venture into and see how can we transfer this to this other sport? Because I've been involved so much in rugby, but also I want to now spread out and see. So I don't know much what football is doing, but I can attest to what rugby, some clubs are doing. But it's a conversation needed.
Yeah, I know personally of one or two people who were amazing sportsmen during their heydays. But right now they're struggling. They're struggling. They have lives which are not, and it's sad.
It's very
sad to imagine that this person was, by many standards, a really great human being, but now they've been reduced to this, pale shadow of their former selves.
Let me paint this picture of how that happened. Like, when you used to step in the field, people are shouting your name, the fame. Like when you walk somewhere, people notice who you are. It's very addictive, by the way. It becomes a part of you. Identity, it's who you are. So you find that's why even it takes longer for some to retire, because there's the same people noticing, people calling, shouting, and the accolades which come with that. And then now slowly, it starts fading away. The new guys start coming in. Your relevance in the sport keeps on diminishing. It's no longer there. And then you're out of it. And who are you without the sport? Who are you? So that transition. And then you find others when they go to you'll find some, they have even gotten jobs, but they can't function because they don't know how to function away from here. So those are some dynamics which needs to being focused on at an early age. Before you start handling it at the age of retirement. No, preparation is to start early. And then as you're transitioning, you're ready to transition and understand yourself much better. So many, you find they struggle as much as they have resources, they have finances, they even have jobs, well-paying jobs. It's not the same. That formed the identity. I don't know how to function without that. So it's a challenge.
I understand. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
It's a struggle.
You walk down the street and everybody's starting to look at you. Something. Yeah. It must be very...
And then it's gone the next day. It's gone. It's no longer there. Yeah. They just see you just like any other person. When you go to the field, it's higher, like your parent person. It's gone. So you want to keep on. How can I continue being relevant? So it's a challenge. As I said, there's so many factors. The dynamics are different, and every person is different. Makeup. So it needs more like that transition. Start, as I said, we start early. You know yourself. You know how you respond to this. You know how you handle this kind of fame. Who are you as a person? Your personality, identity. So even as you're going through as the growth and you know yourself much better, makes it easier as you're transitioning.
Have you had opportunity to have those conversations with the athletes you have engaged with? Or it's hard?
It's very hard based on, because now you find the point of engagement is during this performance, this tournament period. So the main focus priority is on performance and well-being. And so getting to that point, it needs longer engagement so that you have work with them. You create a program, these dates for this. But now, because of the time limit, you focus on the priority. So you find the only time I have is when I'm working with individuals, like one-on-ones with individual athletes who are going through this transition, maybe as an injury, and now they're preparing in the kind of injury. But at that level of teams, that hasn't been possible because of the time and the priority of what's needed.
So is it possible to consider a program that embeds that aspect of in like even during the tournament itself, you begin to discuss not just about the performance in that tournament, but some of those things, because otherwise those are really the only opportunities available to engage, and the windows come and go, and they are all taken up with those focus. So we miss out on opportunities to educate them completely, and then it's too late. I'm just throwing it out there, whether it's possible to either during that time or create a program that doesn't necessarily tie in with the tournament, but still provides an opportunity to continuously address some of these issues during engagement. It would be interesting, I think, to consider.
It's something I've thought about, and I've been collecting information and data on how to go about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's something which can be embedded in the program, but also even outside, because I know it's something clubs or even these teams, it's an interest, and when you bring awareness to them, it's something which can work. So it's possible. I just have to sit back and see how we can go about that. But it's a critical conversation which needs to actually be part and parcel of the mental wellness program in sports.
Talking of mental wellness, now, do we have organizations, people, or resources which are available for athletes or which focus on the mental wellness of athletes? And would you be able to highlight any of those? Other than yourself, obviously.
That's well, okay. That's a good one. That's a good one. Focused. All I know is there are a couple of sports psychologist consultants, but that's now on the consultancy side. But when say organization, I haven't come across any. I would love to know them also, to be aware of them. When it comes to people focusing on wellness of athletes, I'm still looking in Kenya to find, let's say, institutions supporting athletes. Also that, apart from me, I'm still looking and you'll find individuals, but when it comes to institution, you find maybe they're partnering, let's say, with these big hospitals where in case an athlete is going through something, they can go seek support. But purposely for the mental wellness of players, I haven't come across any. And that's the main challenge. So you find even when it comes to, even among the own field, that level of coordination, peer support, you find that's the challenging part also on my side. You find you're not getting so it's a challenge. So I haven't come across any organization. What I know is we have these grassroots programs where they have those life skills programs they're working with athletes there. But now an organization focused fully on supporting athletes on their mental well-being, that's lacking.
The grassroots programs, how do they work? Do you want to highlight a bit? So
like this grassroots program, what they do is they train some of the senior players in terms of life skills. They have life skills program. So they're using even sports, and they're based in resettlement areas, let's say Mathare, we have Kibera, such places. So what they do is they have these programs, after school programs. Kids come together, they're taught life skills, they train in the field, and they have coaches who are also once players. The coaches are they offer that peer support. And they even involve the parents in the community. Parents come in, get involved in the tournaments with their kids. But now it's more of a life skills program, specifically for that life skills program. Yeah, so that's the only one I know. And involved. But now the intensity and these are because now when it comes to the psychological aspect, there's a different level. It comes to the well-being, that's a different level. So I haven't found any which involves. But now for this one, it's basically life skills combined with now rugby. Now it is embedded in the program, the life skills.
I'm going to ask a challenging question, but just it's a sort of brainstorm. So suppose you were to conceive of maybe an organization or resources, and what would it look like? Something that would then be able to fill that gap and minister to athletes properly. What would that organization look like?
This organization, definitely we have to involve the stakeholders in the sports, and this. As you need someone even coming in, it's someone who understands the sports. Not only being a psychologist, also understand these athletes, understand the demands of the sports, the dynamics of the sports. So this organization will also involve stakeholders, will involve the coaches, who are these first-hand people who are working with athletes, we have the physiotherapists who are attending to these athletes on a daily basis when they're training. We have usually they're called strength and conditioning coaches. They're focusing on the physical well-being of the player. They're the ones who are looking at physically, are you training, the speed, these things. So also fast. So these are the people you first come to. So that now when you have that, you're training them, they're aware of identifying issues affecting athletes. So when you train them, they are aware to more first aid training among first aid, but now psychological first aid of players, yes. And identifying. Now you have that referral of how they can come and seek specialized mental health support at the highest level. So you have people like me and other psychologists who are trained in the sport, who understand and who are trained in understanding the player well-being. But now the people on the ground, it's coaches, physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches who have been trained to identify this issue. So this is the kind of how, so the organization is focusing on creating awareness and also a referral point for the athletes. And because when these athletes, it's a coach who has identified, the players will feel safe enough to reach out because this is a coach who knows them. And if my coach can be comfortable enough to have a conversation with me about it, lowers the stigma levels, the labels, and they can seek help. So you're creating a support-seeking kind of environment. So a thriving unit of the players, and also they can get support. So that's the kind of the picture.
Yes.
At.
Well, thank you. I think that makes sense. That seems to me. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think as we close, athletes and mental health, what do you have to tell them?
The one thing I can say is expressing emotion and seeking help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of you're strong enough to reach out and get support to become better. So what I'm encouraging is focus on your self-care and reach out. Don't struggle alone. We have support system in place. And me speaking about it, I'm one of the support system. And understanding how I can even, if I'm not within the area you're at, I can know how to refer you to seek help. So don't struggle alone. Support system is critical. Self-care is critical for you to thrive as an athlete and as a human being. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much, Rhoda. I think we've had a very, very fascinating conversation covering a broad range of topics around mental health and sports. I, for one, I have been able to explore aspects of mental health which I had never thought about. Again, I suppose I'm one of those guys who used to see all athletes as being hard, rugged individuals who can survive anything. But behind that facade, they're human beings who just need as much support, especially when it comes to mental health issues, as any other person. So thank you so much for having this fantastic conversation with us. I'm hoping that just more than a conversation, it also offers an opportunity to begin to actively explore ways of implementing some of the thoughts or concepts that have emerged from this, including possibly even beginning to come up with a framework for the organization or the resources that athletes generally need for their mental health, for their mental well-being. I know in this country, like you had alluded to earlier, it's still a very novel concept, very new.
Yeah.
So there is need to mainstream it first, have everybody get comfortable around the involvement of mental health professionals and the need to address mental health in sports.
That's
and then
true.
I think after that is done, then slowly the whole space can be developed so that it provides meaningful support for sports people generally.
That's true.
Because sports does play a significant role in our having us a beautiful and healthy and fun society to live in. So with those few remarks, I think this would be a good time to bring this to a close. I don't want to forget, let me not forget to remind you to kindly support us by subscribing to our channel. That is Me I'm Mental KE, that's on YouTube. Go to our website, find out what we have there. There's a lot of interesting stuff there, including articles we write about different issues of mental health. We have contributions from different people in those articles, a broad range of subjects. Then we are also on social media. Find us there, follow us, comment on what we are saying, contribute to the mainstreaming of mental health discussions, and let us just make everybody's lives a little that much better if we can. Thank you very, very much. And this is me signing off. My name is Charles Adede, and our guest today was Rhodah Kithure.
Thank you.
Asanteni sana. Bye-bye.